Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Stockradar Stocks on the Move for another week. Today's date is the 12th of August 2021. My name is Richard Lee and I manage the stockradar.com.au website for you. Okay, today I want to focus on capturing the awesome power of momentum, which can be a lot easier than you think. Okay, on the website you'll find education, analysis, systems, behavioural analysis, processes, trading models and portfolios, all designed to help you understand the market better. That's primarily what I do. Okay, so firstly what we're going to go to is get into the markets. Our normal format for the day is going to the overseas markets, ASX 200, Stockradar portfolio, ASX stocks, and then in trading tactics we look specifically at the new high. After looking at both of the trend reversals and new high last week, this week we look at that new high, that power thrust move that can really push the stock prices higher quite quickly. Okay, let's get to the US markets to start with. Dow Jones, again steady and uptrend, no problem, making a new high again this week. All steady from the volume. I mean, the momentum slowed down a little bit, but that's because of the sideways movement, but it all looks fine to me. The NASDAQ is similar. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because they're still just going up and up and holding their uptrends at the moment. Okay, back to Brent crude. It's had a little bit of trouble up around the R1 area. We can see the sellers have started to come into here as a big bar here in the red down day. So a little bit of a battle going on there. It's certainly not over, but we're testing support, and you can see we've got a bit of horizontal support, the moving average uptrend line, all pointing to this area here as a key support bubble. If it breaks, we'll see further correction. We'll take it one step at a time, but for the moment, the pressure is on, the sellers exerting their pressure, trying to push these prices down at the moment. Okay, gold futures, an interesting week this last week. We saw the market crap out again last week after our video. It then came back to S1 and now has recovered again last night. So we're back in this range, R1, S1. Really, we don't know. This says further downside. This says we might have a shot at the highs. So for the moment, the gold stocks are chopping about and really nothing for me at the moment. It really is a neutral standard side situation for gold. And copper again is also finding some pressure up here, up around the highs here. We've got this lower high here, which we worry about, which we saw with gold. And it may well put pressure on this S1 area for the moment. We don't really know, but again, we've got the S1 area here, the moving average soon through here. So we've got a bit of area of support here that we'd be looking at to hold the market at this stage. Okay, so that's copper. It's having a bit of a struggle at the moment after a big uptrend move. Okay, now let's get to the ASX 200. The ASX 200, as always, has been exciting for the last 12 months as it keeps going up and up and up. So it's been looking pretty good. It's made a new high again last week. It's looking like making a new high again this week. So the trend is intact here. It's going up very nicely. And if we look here, this whole move here from March last year has really been one big powerful momentum move. It's got on, it had a trend reversal, it's got onto its spike here, impulse drift, a big weekly powerful momentum. I look at weekly data, I take weekly signals, that's what I do, it gives me good perspective. So here you can see this very powerful move higher and it's still going on. We've had trend reversals and new highs and uptrends, everything's there, and you can see the momentum index, the MACD, is very, very high on the scale, reasonably flattish, which means we have a very steady uptrend, which is exactly what we've got. So there's no real concerns from there at this stage. Okay, the portfolio itself is up 3 stocks this week to 86 stocks. The portfolios, the 5 is full out of 5 stocks, the 10 is full of 10 stocks. The conservative still sits at 6 out of 20. It's our little safe portfolio. The sectors, we've got the banks, industrial materials and property, which have been up there for so long, it's almost getting boring. Industrial materials is interesting because we're seeing a bit of rotation through there, so we'll have a little bit of look at that later on. Perhaps not rotation, but we're seeing some stocks adding to the mix there, and we'll have a look at one of those a bit later on. Okay, and our own little portfolio, building a portfolio, we might have a snapshot of that later on. As looked on Friday, it was up 13.5% as of last Friday. Probably a bit better this week, but we'll see where we close on Friday. So we might have a quick chance to have a quick look at that later on. Okay, so let's now get into some charts. Firstly, well, talking about power moves at this stage, we're talking about Suncorp and what a jump it's had this week. Extraordinary as it may seem, we don't really know why. But it's still, we've had a trend reversal. We know if we've had a trend reversal and the stock's in a trend, we've got every chance of getting these big jumps higher, these momentum thrusts higher, because that's when they occur. And they don't occur in downtrends, they're downward moves, and that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in upward moves because that's the prevailing trend of the stock market. The bias is always up, and that's what I'm looking for. So if I'm in a trend, I get a trend reversal, I've got a good chance of getting these power thrust moves that do really kick higher. And you can see momentum here jumping sharply. Momentum jumps sharply. Sorry, volume jumps sharply as well. Above the average, and it's through this resistance at R1 now, so we may well be looking at the highs up here, up around R2, which is about 1554 at this stage. So keep an eye on that. Suncorp's rating of 10. It's been a really steady performer. It really has jumped out of the gates this week, and everything looks good with volume and momentum. So that's been a nice trade since late last year. Okay, so Suncorp at 10. Another one, we did talk a little bit about building materials before. We've seen Boral, Fletcher Buildings, James Hardie go skyrocketing. We're now seeing Adelaide Brighton. We're now seeing Aurora. We're now seeing Reliance Worldwide all starting to contribute to that sector's strength. So it's interesting to see. So if we look here, we've got Aurora, which had a rocky start to its listed history. And these are the highs up there at 369. It's come down. It's taken a long time to go down through here, but then we finally got a trend reversal pattern down here. We know the low, the high low up here, then we got no new low. It's a clue. Then we get a break. We get a trend reversal. So standard trend reversal price structure leads to a trend phase, which is what's happened here. Okay, we've had volume which has been middling without being, it's indifferent, but we've had a very strong momentum index, so our weight of evidence shifts this trend intensity rating up into 9. What's especially interesting about this chart, this is the all-time highs, and we love all-time highs because we know what happens when we break through there. We've got a very good chance that this market's going to go further. So at this stage we're hesitating a little bit, so our natural instinct or our natural process is our stop management. So we tighten our stops into here because this stock may well come back to the low of its trading range. We don't know that yet, so we'll just wait and see, but we manage the position as if it's going to break at this stage. So we just tighten the stop up a little bit just to protect the profits that we've got, to make sure they don't escape, and we're still in the game if we do get a push through here. So if it extends its rally to new highs, that's an exciting thing for Aurora. So keep an eye on that one. Okay, the next one I'll have a look at is another power thrust move high, new high stock again, Resmed. In fact, a lot of the health stocks have done it. Sonic Health, Resmed, Helios have all been quite strong. And if we look here at Resmed at the moment, its trend intensity rating is 10. We had a sideways pattern here after a good uptrending phase. Then we went into a sideways consolidation pattern here for about a year, a little bit over a year. Then it broke higher. So at this point here, we've got an interesting situation. Firstly, just to note here, we've got the rally through here. We've got great volume and great momentum. So we're getting a very, very strong signal here. Here we've actually broken here, and our entry isn't up until here. So some people consider this, well, the price is up at its high, it's too high, it's too strong, I'm not going to buy it, or I'm going to try and buy a weakness. Don't worry about it. You get the signal, you just do it, because you never know what's going to happen. And if this happens, you're a happy man and you're onto something. If it comes back, we've always got a stop loss in place to protect us against adverse movements. But it's always worth being in the game, not trying to finesse your entry, because if you do that, you'll find that you'll probably miss it. And if you do, you'll be frustrated. But the thing is just to follow your signals, and when you get them, you just do them. So here it is. It's rate high. It's up 20% in about 8 weeks, which is enough in anyone's books. So that's been very good. And as you can see, the volume momentum has just skyrocketed through here. So this is a move of substance. It's not something that's going to come back very quickly. That's just not a guarantee, but that's just an odds-on case. When you look at the sort of buying that's been pushing this stock higher, it's very unlikely it's going to come back sharply, and it will go a lot further. So that's Resmed, trend intensity rating of 10. Don't finesse too much. Just when you get a signal, you get in and you do it. Okay, so the next one I want to have a look at is, again, some of these stocks I'm looking at, Suncorp, Aurora, have all been sort of somewhat dreary stocks of late, and maybe even this one it has as well, Medibank Private. But it's not so dreary when this sort of move happens, and this has been an exciting move since the highs, since we broke a trend reversal pattern here, quite a large trend reversal pattern here. The high low is the clue, just like the lower high is the clue of a turn, which we see in gold and we see in copper. So we've got the lower high here, so we're waiting for the break, and we get the break here. Okay, confirmation of the break here. This is around $3.09. It's now around $3.50 nearly, $3.49, and it's looking pretty good. Strong move, good volume, good momentum. All the signals are there. All the hallmarks are flashing green, green, green. So we go, go, go. So trend intensity rating 10. Look out R1, here we come. Okay, so Medibank Private looks good. And again, as this level is the high, cycle high, if it breaks through here, well, we're in for another interesting situation. So you've got to be in the game to play it, and if you are, then you're probably doing quite well with Medibank Private at the moment, which has been a goodie for us. Okay, now not so good has been Perseus, which as we've seen, it's been a sparkling move higher. And in anyone's book, you go, well, this stock looks great. It's moving higher. It's made new highs, and on it goes. And of course, Perseus, being a gold stock, quickly reverses back. Okay, now it's not over yet. I know the market will be a bit stronger today because gold jumped a bit. I'm not too sure what's going to happen here. If you want to know where my stop loss is, you need to go to the website. But Perseus Mining has come back here pretty quick suddenly. We've got a bit of profit to protect just from down here, not much, but we can still protect it and stand aside rather than watch the profits disappear and it go lower and lower and maybe even come back to S1. It could happen. The nature of gold stocks is like that. So for this stage, the jury is out. I wait till tomorrow's close and I see where that closes against my stop loss, and then I make my decision as to what I'm going to do. So the trend intensity rating is still 9. Volume has been okay. If I just push this up a little bit, you can see there's been some reasonable bars there, some reasonable green bars pushing this higher. Momentum's been good and it's above the average, so the rating is 9. But we'll just have to wait and see where it finishes at the end of the week. Doesn't always work out just as we plan. But the next one has, and this one has been a real rocket. We looked at NAB last week and we saw that all these banks have been correcting, going sideways for a couple of months, trying to break down. But we did see NAB last week recover nicely off that low, off that supporting low, which I did say then was probably a good sign that the buyers are happy to support the stock. And I haven't got NAB here this week, but what I do have is CBA. And this has just been, even through here, people might have worried about it, thought it was enough, but really there was not a lot of oomph in that, not a lot of volume, momentum was still positive. Everything was still pretty positive here. All markets have corrections, all markets come back, and they're the times we doubt. If we have our stop in place, we don't have to worry. We just wait till our stop goes off and we get out. If it doesn't go off, like CBA, we're still in the game and we're still making money. So it's up to $108, making new all-time highs at the moment. Trend intensity rating of 9. If it holds these gains this week, it will be trend intensity rating of 10. And as you can see here, the volume has been very nice over the last 4 or 5 weeks since we hit the low here around about $96.77. And momentum now kicking back higher again. It's already strong up in the scale because these moves really have been very small in the scale of this big momentum move higher. Okay, so we get these thrusts on the upside when we get these momentum moves, and they're the power thrusts I'm talking about, and they're the ones where you make your money. Okay, but then you remember you've got to make sure you hold on to that money. Okay, so that's CBA for you. I just wanted to have a look at that because the banks really have been a booming opportunity for us over the last few months. Okay, so now we want to go to trading tactics. Very quickly, I talked about the momentum moves, the new high, the power thrust, the things that really go, see those prices move high, would be Resmed, Helios. In fact, I was going to show you one other little stock in here, which I'll show you in a second. Actually, it's Helios. That really have moved to steadily high. Every week's a higher week, the pure definition of a trend. Okay, so the new high power thrust. Okay, first off, really my process and system is made up of 3 things. The trend reversal and the new high, which is the analysis side that gets me in, and the stops that get me out, and that's the money management side. Okay, they're really the 3 things that I'm concerned about. So built around those things, I have a very specific strategy of where I want to get to. I have a process as to how I'm going to get there, and I have the control to implement the plan properly and not say, no, I'm not going to take a stop this week, I'm going to wait another week, or I'm not going to buy this stock, I'm going to buy that stock. It's really a matter of having that control of your universe, of your stock selection process, of the entries and the exits as well, to make sure that you do it. And it is like a jigsaw. You saw this picture last week. I just thought I'd show you again because it makes a lot of sense as to what I'm trying to do. It's like a jigsaw. Put those pieces in place to complete the picture and generate the outcome you want to generate. Okay, so new high reverses and stops. Okay, the Stockradar process is one of analysis in. That's what gets me in the market. When I analyse a stock, it tells me I get a trend reversal, I've got a new high, I've got all the trend intensity filters to support it, with this volume, the momentum, the moving average, all those things that do it. That's how I get into a stock. And once I'm in a stock, it becomes a function of money management, and that's what I'm doing with my stop loss, my trailing stop. I'm limiting my loss to a certain amount, and then I'm trying to protect those profits as I rise it. So that's how, that's how we go. Okay, the 3 examples I want to talk to you about of the new high today, just to give you a bit of a look, give you an idea of how I think and how it works. So the new high, what is it? Well, a new high it's caused by momentum. It's a trend extension. It's gathering forces. It just moves the market. So what happens often is buyers overcome selling phases. We've seen some new highs for Aurora, Medibank Private. If they overcome, are likely to trigger a momentum thrust high, momentum move higher. So we're seeing a break of old highs or previous resistance that helps guide us a little bit. And what happens is crowd behaviour is the price driver. People are scrambling over themselves for stock, and there's not a lot of sellers around, and until that balance comes back, the price will continue to rise. So that's what happens with the new high and the power thrust, and that's why they move like that generally. And when you're in a market like this, a very bullish market, this is when they really move, because people are very excitable and they love to get onto stock. Even if it's CBA or any other stock, that's what they do. So it's crowd behaviour driving is the predominant force of the price movement, and it's an unstoppable force at times. Okay, so the next point is new high, easy steps. So I break it into about 3 steps basically, which is not that hard. So firstly, the trap is set. The new high, is the price going to make a new high? I get a weekly new high. Okay, the trap is triggered. Okay, the price triggers the trap. Okay, once we've done that, we're then in a position, we know what we're going to do. We're going to buy, we're going to sell, and we set our stop and we run the position. Okay, so that's then managed by a stop loss. So 1, the trap is set. 2, the price triggers the trap. 3, we then manage the position with our stop. So the process is clear and simple, and we saw the Resmed chart before here. We brought it up here. Okay, a little bit high maybe, but we're still in the money. We've measured this from May to December, so we're still 20% uplift in 2 weeks from our entry point back here, and all this looks fantastic. Okay, look at another stock. So we follow the steps. There's no need to finesse entries and exits, like I said before, with things like Resmed that broke, or even like Goodman Fielder, like we had a good break here. We've had a good break here and a bigger price jump here. So that's where we would have got in this stock. No matter, it's still gone up a long way. So no need to finesse entries and exits. When you get a signal, just do it. Okay, so Goodman's been another new high and another power thrust higher. It's up about 14% in 9 weeks. Okay, so what I'm really trying to do here with all these things, with all this I'm talking about, is I'm trading the high probability numbers to create a trading edge. That's my trading edge. I trade the probability of this would be more likely to happen than that more likely. So there are losses involved, of course, but I limit those losses. There are profits involved, of course, but I run those profits. So this is where the bias is on how we make our money. So the last chart I do want to show you is Helios, which we have looked at on and off over the last few months or year or so, because it did break higher back here in September 1920. Okay, so this has nearly been going on for a year, this trend. So that's a good lengthy trend. It's been a very, very steady trend. We saw it hesitate from sort of March through to about June, so about 3 or 4 months a sideways movement here, and we busted higher again. And look at this, we've had not a down week in about the last 9 weeks, and we've had a 17% further uplift. Okay, 54 months. So this should read from here. 54% in 12 months from entry point here to there, and 70% in the last 9 weeks. So this is how the momentum moves work. Again, there's no reason to doubt this at all, because your stop hasn't gone up, so you are still in this position. Okay, everything's confirmed. It's going higher. Trend intensity rating is 10. Love it, love it. Okay, so that's the trading tactics, is what I want to go through with you today. My strategy is devoid of all these things like trying to get highs and lows, trying to get every stock impossible. You can't do that, so you need to have those controls in place, defining defining your entries and exits. I don't get the bottom because I wait for a trend to turn, then I jump on it, and I wait for it to turn back down, and then I jump off it. So I'm never going to get a top or bottom anyway. That's not what I want to do. So there are a lot of those things that you could be careful of. So I know if I use my strategy on my group of stocks, I will get a positive return that meets realistic expectations and meets my objectives. So if I follow my plan, I'll get what I want, is effectively what I'm saying to you. So The nature of the game, to a degree, is acceptance of egos, of not getting highs and lows, all sorts of biases we have. There's lots of things we need to accept with our trading. That's not perfect, but we can still make money out of it. Okay, so that's really all I want to talk to you about today. I'm going to leave you with a few thoughts. Momentum power. I'm not there to get tops or bottoms or shoot down every stock that moves. No, my job is really to make money, and in the end, that's what I'm really here for you. Okay, I don't know when these power thrusts are going to occur, but I do know if a stock is in a trend or broken to new highs, the odds of me getting onto a power thrust are very high. Suncorp, Mineral Resources, Independence Gold, Goodman Group, Helios. Don't worry, they're always lost matched with these trends, and that's part of the game. But so long as we play the numbers consistently, we know a positive outcome follows, and that's my story. Okay, that's how I work. That's my story. Okay, good luck for your trading this week. Thanks for listening. Hope you all learned something today, and I'll see you all next week.